Space Sweepers, out on Netflix now, new Korean science fiction film with a surprisingly multinational and multilingual cast. It opens with scenes reminiscent very much of Blade Runner, Earth ruined by an environmental catastrophe, cities filled with monumental, menacing skyscrapers, people desperately scrounging up money wanting to leave the planet and go live on the prestigious space stations. The year, as it turns out, is 2019 too, and the main protagonist is a young Korean guy who we meet as he's visiting a lost and found office. As we learn, looking for a person, and as we also learn, not for the first time, once again failing to locate the girl that he's looking for, he decides to go back to his spaceship. And then it turns out that this is actually less of a Blade Runner and more of a live-action Cowboy Bebop, coupled with elements of Guardians of the Galaxy. The crew of the ship is a ragtag group of flawed but likable people, rough on the outside, living outside the law, but really with hearts of pure gold. They make money by working as the titular space sweepers. They collect debris and sell it off to scrap heaps. This day, however, on a seemingly abandoned ship, they find a little girl hidden away in a cargo compartment. And they learn from a news broadcast that she's actually not a girl at all. She's a deadly robot pretending to be a girl with a hydrogen bomb inside. She's been kidnapped away from the government, and they want her back, the terrorists want her back, and thus begins the adventure of the film. Now, I'll start with the things I enjoyed. The first and biggest one would be the overall light-hearted vibe. Once again, very similar to Cowboy Bebop. It's not as good as it was there. I mean, you can make a reasonable argument that Bebop is the best anime of all time, but the atmosphere here is emulated quite well, and not just the light-hearted surface level, but also the underlying sort of melancholic elements that occasionally pop up. The characters are fantastic. The world of the film, while not very inventive, feels lived in and real. The special effects look fantastic. Action sequences are good. The humor works, and the film has its heart in the right place. It knows, what kind of message it's going for, and executes that fairly well. But it isn't perfect, to be honest, and I think that the shortcomings have to do primarily with the script. See, the setup of the story is cool. The first act works, but then the further we get, the more nonsensical does the film become. It has a weird four-act structure, and I think the only reason it's not a traditional three-act thing is because the writers couldn't figure out how to streamline the climax of the third act and progress that naturally into the ending of the film. So we have the climax at the end of the third act, then a little moment of respite, and then another set of action, and another emotional climax at the end of Act 4, and then the movie ends. But what the writers ended up doing with it makes no sense. We have a villain suddenly beginning to make completely stupid decisions for no reason other than prolonging the film. And as a result, the set piece towards the end feels off, and the resulting action sequence is not the easiest to follow. I was wondering, okay, so what's going on now? Where are we? What's happened? And also, the actual climax of the final act is really... It seems to be really ballsy, and it puts the characters in a great redemption spot, but suddenly then it doesn't, because it backs out at the last moment. I won't say what happens, obviously, but the film basically raises the stakes and then says, actually, it's not that bad. The danger is pretty much gone. And I mean, I get it. The filmmakers wanted a happy ending, which does work in a way, and it's very heartwarming, I have to say. But it does make it difficult to get through the final 40 minutes without thinking, what is going on? So overall, Space Sweepers is an admirable, if imperfect, effort at moving the sort of light-hearted but also slightly melancholic character-based sci-fi brand of Cowboy Bebop into live action. There are things that could have been improved upon, no doubt about it, but I know one thing. I would love to see the filmmakers get that chance, the chance of trying again and making another movie with a similar tone, correcting the things that went wrong this time. Because say what you will about it, the atmosphere is pretty damn great.